Here's something you've probably never once stopped to think about. Every single chicken you've ever eaten had a father. So where are all of them? Hens lay eggs. Roosters don't. That's obvious enough. But think about what that actually means for a chicken farm. Roughly half of every batch of chicks born is male. Every single one of those males is completely useless for producing eggs. So what happens to them? Do they get raised for meat? Do they grow up into farmyard roosters? Do they just vanish? And why did an entire global food industry end up built around one sex of a single bird, while the other sex became almost worthless? The answer starts with one small biological fact, and it quietly reshaped the entire chicken industry. Let's clear something up immediately, because it matters. Male chicken meat is completely edible. There's nothing toxic, unsafe, or inherently unpleasant about it. Roosters have been eaten by humans for thousands of years across dozens of cultures. This isn't a story about male chicken meat being bad. The real question is narrower and stranger than that. Why aren't male chickens raised for meat at the same scale as the chickens that actually end up on your dinner plate? And the honest answer has almost nothing to do with taste. It comes down to economics and a strange kind of biological specialization most people never think about. Here's the part that surprises most people the first time they hear it. The chicken sitting on your plate and the chicken that laid your breakfast egg aren't really the same kind of chicken anymore, even though they're technically the same species. Modern agriculture split chickens into two separate specialized categories a long time ago. One type is bred purely for egg production. The other is bred purely for meat. They look different, they grow differently, and they were shaped by decades of selective breeding to do two completely different jobs. Start with the egg-laying hen. A modern commercial laying hen is genuinely remarkable at what she does, capable of producing hundreds of eggs in a single year. But a male chicken can't lay a single egg, no matter how you raise him. That's obvious on its own, but think through what it actually means for a commercial egg operation. The farm exists specifically to produce eggs. A male chick contributes nothing toward that goal. Every month you spend feeding him is a month of cost with zero corresponding output. That's the first problem. Here's the second, and it's arguably the bigger one. Male chicks born from egg-laying breeds also aren't particularly good at becoming meat birds. They tend to be smaller, slower growing, and considerably less efficient at converting feed into muscle compared to chickens specifically bred for meat production. Meanwhile, a modern broiler chicken, the type specifically bred for meat, has been selectively pushed toward one single trait for decades: grow as fast as biologically possible. These birds can reach full market weight in roughly 6 to 8 weeks. An egg-laying breed was never built for that. Its biology was optimized for something else entirely, so raising its male offspring specifically for meat often just doesn't pencil out financially. At some point, instead of trying to build one all-purpose chicken that could do everything reasonably well, the poultry industry made a different choice. Build two specialized chickens, each optimized for exactly one job. Think of it like a factory. You could build one flexible machine that does 10 different tasks adequately, or you could build 10 separate machines, each one dialed in perfectly for a single task. In almost every industrial context, the second option ends up being dramatically more efficient. That's essentially what happened to the domestic chicken. So egg-laying hens got bred harder and harder for one trait: maximum egg output. Broiler chickens got bred harder and harder for a completely different trait: maximum growth speed and meat yield. Two branches of the same species pushed in opposite directions for decades until they barely resembled each other functionally anymore. And that split is exactly where the male chick problem comes from. When a hatchery is producing egg-laying hens, it doesn't need male chicks at all. It needs females specifically, exclusively. The males aren't really a product. They're a biological side effect of producing the females the industry actually wants. Historically, this wasn't really a problem. Small farms kept a handful of roosters around for breeding purposes, maybe one rooster for every several hens, and any extra males simply got eaten. Nothing complicated about it. But industrial-scale egg production works at a completely different order of magnitude. Large commercial hatcheries produce staggering numbers of chicks at once, and they need only a small fraction of that number to be male for breeding. So the practical question becomes unavoidable. What do you actually do with all the rest? Historically, one answer became depressingly common. Male chicks from egg-laying breeds were culled shortly after hatching, a practice known as male chick culling. It remains one of the more controversial realities of modern industrial egg production. It's important to be precise about about why this happens, though, it's not because male chickens are inherently useless animals. It's that the underlying economics of the system make raising them profitably extremely difficult. This has pushed researchers and companies to look for alternative solutions, and one approach in particular has picked up real momentum in recent years: figuring out the sex of a chick before it even hatches. This is where the story gets genuinely interesting from a technology standpoint. What if a hatchery could determine whether a fertilized egg contains a male or female embryo before it ever develops into a chick? That's precisely the idea behind a technique known as in-ovo sexing. Various methods have been developed to identify the sex of a developing embryo while it's still inside the shell, sometimes by analyzing tiny hormonal markers, sometimes using optical or spectral scanning technology. If the embryo is determined to be male, the egg is removed early in the incubation process, before it develops into a chick capable of feeling pain. If it's female, incubation continues normally, and she eventually hatches into a future laying hen. It's essentially an attempt to solve a decades-old economic and ethical problem using modern technology instead of changing the underlying production model. Several countries have already begun requiring or incentivizing this technology within their egg industries, and it's gradually becoming more widespread. There's also an older, simpler approach that never fully disappeared: just eat the males. Plenty of cultures around the world have never stopped doing exactly this. Roosters remain a regular part of the diet in numerous cuisines worldwide. Older roosters in particular often end up in soups, broths, stews, and slow-cooked dishes specifically because their meat tends to be tougher and more flavorful than a young broiler's, a natural result of being older and considerably more physically active throughout their lives. Tougher doesn't mean worse. It just means the cooking method needs to match the meat. A young male chicken can technically be raised specifically for meat too. The core issue remains efficiency rather than edibility. If you're running a massive commercial operation built around producing cheap chicken meat at enormous scale, an egg breed male simply isn't the right tool for that job. You want a broiler, an animal specifically engineered across decades of selective breeding for exactly that purpose. That's the real reason the chicken sitting in your supermarket fridge almost certainly isn't a rooster from an egg farm. It's a specialized meat bird from an entirely different breeding lineage. Here's a detail that surprises a lot of people. Chickens weren't originally domesticated purely for meat or eggs at all. The earliest domesticated chickens, descended from wild jungle fowl in Southeast Asia, were likely valued for a whole mix of reasons: eggs, meat, feathers, status symbols, religious or ceremonial significance, and, notably, fighting. In a lot of early societies, roosters specifically held genuine cultural value that had nothing to do with dinner. Their crowing marked the start of the day. Their aggressive, dominant behavior became tied up with symbols of courage and status. Cockfighting spread widely across numerous ancient cultures, and in some of those contexts, a prize rooster was worth considerably more alive than any amount of meat he could have provided on a plate. So historically, male chickens absolutely held real value. The specific modern problem where a male chick becomes essentially a costly inconvenience only really emerged once agriculture became industrialized. Once operations started producing not thousands, but millions and eventually billions of chickens annually, every single animal that didn't directly contribute to output became a measurable cost. Feed, housing space, labor, transportation, all of it adding up relentlessly across an enormous scale. At that point, the industry started asking a blunt, purely economic question: what's the cheapest, most efficient way to produce exactly the female chickens the system actually needs? And that question is precisely what created one of the stranger situations in modern agriculture. A perfectly healthy, biologically normal animal can end up essentially worthless purely because of which sex it happened to be born as. That's not really biology making that determination. That's the production system doing it. There's a broader lesson buried inside this whole story, and it's worth sitting with for a second. Humans have been reshaping domesticated animals for thousands of years, and we haven't just tamed species, we've fundamentally re-engineered them. We decide which specific traits matter to us, then we breed relentlessly toward those traits generation after generation, until eventually the animal itself has genuinely changed at a biological level. The modern chicken might be the clearest example of this anywhere in agriculture. A single wild jungle bird eventually split into an egg-producing specialist on one branch and a meat-producing specialist on another, two increasingly distinct biological tools built from the same original species. And somewhere in the middle of that entire split, the male offspring of the egg-laying branch ended up caught in a system that was never really built with him in mind. So why don't we eat male chickens more often? The honest, complete answer is that sometimes we actually do, but within modern industrial egg production specifically, most male chicks come from breeds optimized purely for laying eggs, not for efficiently producing meat. The industry has no use for them as as egg producers, and raising them competitively as meat birds generally can't match the economics of specialized broiler chickens built for exactly that purpose. The male chicken never disappeared from human diets because his meat was somehow inedible. He became uncommon because an entire global industry optimized itself layer by layer purely around efficiency, and he simply wasn't the most efficient tool for either job the system was built to solve. Which leaves us with something genuinely strange to consider. The chicken in your refrigerator, the chicken that laid this morning's egg, and the rooster crowing on a farm somewhere are all, biologically, the exact same species. But after thousands of years of deliberate human selection, they're no longer really doing the same job at all. We took a single wild bird and split it into an egg machine, a meat machine, a breeding animal, and a farmyard alarm clock, all running in parallel. And the male chicken specifically ended up caught directly in the middle of a system humans built almost entirely around his sisters.